This is Shane Barrett, and you are listening to the Dynasty Hotseat.
Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome back once again to the Dynasty Hot Seat. It's the only Dynasty show out there that is a certified Inferno, and we are back in 2025. Hey, it's been a minute since I've seen you guys. It's good to be back. Not sounding the healthiest, but luckily I've got a great guest here to carry me through the podcast. I've got Shane Barrett with me. First time on the show, Shane. Great to see you. Great to chat to you. We're going to talk through these 2025 rookies. Can't wait to get into it. Shane, before we get into everything, can you just tell everyone watching, if they don't know your work, don't know what you're all about, what are you up to? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so you guys can find me on Twitter, X, Elon Musk's Funhouse, whatever you want to call it, at FF Shane B, or at Polly's Playoff. So Polly's Playoff is a charity tournament that I run every year for the last 5 years, and we're going into year 6. And my 30th birthday is actually next Monday, and in honor of that, I'm changing the scoring for the first time in Polly's Playoff, and it's gonna be fun. So Polly's Playoff is a tournament to benefit the walk to end Alzheimer's here, and that's probably my biggest thing that I'm working on pretty consistently. I started a podcast for it last year and then just got kind of caught up with the new job and things, and it kind of fell through the cracks. But then I also write for Auburn football for the FF League winners, and then recently made the transition back to Going for Two, and we'll be doing some rookie profile videos for Going for Two and some other Dynasty content as well.
Absolutely love that. You're a busy guy, Shane, all of that stuff. But hey, we might even talk some Jarquez Hunter later. Then, if you're right for Auburn, right? We'll see. We'll see if we get to somebody like that. But what we're going to do is we're going to chat through this 2025 class. Shane, before we go through your Superflex sort of rankings as it sit right now, do you have any general takeaways from this class? I'm kind of down on it. I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being negative.
No, I don't think you're being negative. I think the biggest problem, especially for Superflex, is that the quarterback class doesn't have like that elite prospect coming out. I think there are a bunch of guys that can be NFL starters, maybe spot starters or backups for a really long time. But I don't see that bona fide elite quarterback talent in this class.
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's one person that might surprise me with that, it's Cam Ward. But everybody else, there's question marks or blemishes on their profile, and it's very interesting to see as far as quarterbacks go. And then wide receiver is weaker too, and I know fantasy football players love wide receivers, so that's probably why some people are considering it a weaker class. Like there's probably 2 or 3 guys at the top that are really, really strong, and then after that, I won't say it completely falls off, but again, it goes into that there's blemishes, there's guys that are only good at one thing or things like that. And we'll get more data as like Senior Bowl happens and the Combine happens, and maybe some of these weaker positions will strengthen. But then the jewel of the class is the running back position, and I'm really excited for that because I'm still a little old school in my fantasy ways and love running backs. So I'm really excited for this class as far as running back goes, and tight end is pretty strong too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, some nice tight ends, and there's so many great running backs in this class, which I'm sure we'll get to. Hey, who knows? We might even get to one right off the bat because we're going to dive into it, Shane. It is Superflex, but a lot of people have gone with that running back at 1-1. Is that where you're going with this class, or are you sticking to quarterback?
Right now, that's where I'm leading. I am not comfortable with taking a quarterback 101 right now. So I would definitely lean towards Ashton Jeanty out of Boise State. I listened to a mock draft podcast the other day, and they mocked him to the Cowboys. And if that happens, sky's the limit for Jeanty. So I don't know. I gotta pull up the draft order for the NFL draft because
Oh, I think you've just muted yourself, Shane. I think you might be talking about our Cowboys top 10, or is that what you're
Cowboys,
saying?
I think, are 10 or 13. Hold on a second. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you all fine now.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I pull on the cord of my mic just enough, it will screw it up. So Cowboys are 12. So,
Okay.
but there's not the only team that I think, the Giants needed a running back, and so do the Raiders. But other than those, but they also both need quarterback. And I see, depending on who Tennessee takes, I see either New York taking the second quarterback or Vegas trading up and getting the second quarterback out of the top two.
Yeah.
That's just how I see it right now. So I don't see either of them reaching on Jeanty. So I see him falling to the Cowboys pretty easily. And that's my I guess prediction. And again, if he goes there, he's 101 easily, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it just seems to be like almost too good to be true with the Cowboys there. They've been needing
Yeah.
that bell cow running back for a while since Zeke Elliott started, aging and not becoming the player he once was. And the big question is, and we can go all the way back to Zeke Elliott here, whenever he was coming in as a rookie, a lot of people had him ranked as dynasty running back 1 overall, even before he played a snap because of that Cowboys landing spot. Do you think people are going to be brave enough to do that with Jeanty as well? Because I'm thinking, why the hell not?
I hope not. I think Jeanty is really, really good, and especially if he goes to the Cowboys, he'll easily be top 5. But
Yeah.
there's part of me that wants a bit more of the proven commodity in my dynasty rankings, and it's been a while since I've truly updated them, but I personally wouldn't rank Jeanty first. I think at this point I would probably have Gibbs.
Yeah.
And Bijan's probably right there behind him. And then you've got Breece Hall, I think. And then I guess I'm a sucker, but I still like Jonathan Taylor. Like he's
Yeah.
25, 26, and we saw what he can do towards the end of the season. I feel like people kind of sleep on him for what he can easily be. So, and then I think Jeanty could probably slot in right behind Taylor, at least for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I think that's more than fair for Jeanty, but hopefully he ends up the Cowboys can't fumble the bag again, surely. Well, we never know. We never know. We'll have to wait and see. But Jeanty at 1-1, especially if he goes to the Cowboys. Who's following up after him at 1-2 for you then, Shane?
I've got Tet MacMillan.
Yeah.
So wide receiver out of Arizona. He's 6'5", 210, I think, roughly. The misconception that I've seen on the interwebs lately is that he is your typical like big body receiver that can't separate and only lives off the contested catch. But if you actually go and watch, like the one of his best routes is the whip route.
Yeah.
He runs that thing like nobody's business. So I don't think route running is going to be a problem. I think he'll be able to create plenty of separation off of route running. But then he's still got the size to be that contested catch guy. And I think the reason that his contested catch rate is so high is because he's getting hospital balls all the time. Like his quarterback play has been horrible to the point where I think if he gets better quarterback play, we probably see that contested catch rate drop because he's not having to go do it because the ball is actually accurately placed.
Yeah, if Noah Fafita built an arc, that thing would have holes in it, and it would not be going it would not be going anywhere. Right, that guy was not. I know he was his high school quarterback and everything, but he didn't do much to help out good old Tet there. But he is an absolute amazing player. I always kind of think about Shane, have you heard the phrase before, like the best wide receiver in the world's playing in the NBA? Have you heard that? I've heard that phrase a few times being passed around. He kind of reminds me of that kind of body build, like an NBA kind of, but like the crazy good athlete as well, right?
Yeah. I don't know if I've actually heard that phrase, but I mean, as a basketball fan, I could easily see it. Like, that's the thing. You're going to laugh at this, especially being across the pond. But like, if the United States put their best athletes, like true athletes, into soccer,
oh, yeah,
it would be incredible. We would be so good if like that was the training route that they took, was to play soccer instead of football or basketball or even baseball. Like, if our best athletes go and play soccer, they're going to be dangerous. So I could easily see how like a basketball player could be the best wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I completely agree. And like, no offense to Christian Pulisic, but he ain't touching the wide receiver room in a lot of places, right? He's good player, but he's not getting there, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So yeah, Tet MacMillan, absolute. Yeah, I could see Tet being commanding center back for the US, right? He could do that, right? He could probably do that tomorrow,
or
actually.
even a striker, like a target man, like.
Yeah,
man, that'd be beautiful.
Shane, we're going to do a separate podcast stuff. We're going to build the U.S. men's soccer team, right? We're going to
just off of football players.
yeah. We could do that. I'm sure. Yeah. So Tet MacMillan would definitely slide in there. Who knows? Maybe your guy at 1-3 would slide in there as well. Who's going there for you?
This is where it gets interesting. I think landing spot's going to have a huge play on this. In real life drafts, I think for my rankings, I'm going to go with Cam Ward here.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got enough mobility for that to be a threat, but then he wants to be a pocket passer.
Yes.
And I think his pocket presence and pocket awareness are going to be huge going forward. To where I think he's got the best potential, at least as a passer, in this class.
It's going to be interesting because last time I checked, he was the favorite to go 1 overall. But for me, I actually prefer the quarterback that will go to the New York Giants, mainly because Malik Neighbors that good. Like he's the one for me that if Shedeur Sanders goes to the Giants, I love that matchup with Malik Neighbors. If Cam Ward goes, I still love it because Malik Neighbors is that damn good. And I know the Titans have got some weapons, but nothing like that, right?
Well, and the thing with the Giants too is like they've got Malik Neighbors, they've got former Auburn player Darius Slayton, who he's not a chump. Like he's solid, especially as your wide receiver 2 or 3. They've got Wan'Dale Robinson. Theo Johnson showed flashes before he got hurt. Really, after that, they need a running back, and then their offensive skill positions are solid. And with the Titans specifically, like they've got Calvin Ridley, but he's going to be 31, I think. Yeah. And then I think they technically still have Tyler Boyd. Oh my God, I'm forgetting who's their wide receiver 2.
They have the ghost of Chigokonkwo there as well.
Like they do.
He's still
and then they've got Pollard and Spears, but at least from a wide receiver core standpoint, I think the quarterback would be, like you're saying, would be set up better to go to the Giants versus the Titans.
They've got the touchdown guy as well, right? They got he's blanking up. He's double-barreled. Westbrook Akine, is it?
Yeah. He only catches touchdowns.
Touchdown guy. Yeah, they got him as well. So he's an interesting weapon. So for you, are you kind of the same as me here, where if it was Shedeur Sanders that ends up with the Giants, would you be putting Sanders here, or do you think Ward is that much better anyway?
I think I'd become, if Sanders goes to the Giants, I think I'd be comfortable taking him at 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for now, we'll project Ward to the Giants for now. They're very different players, which I think is quite cool. Like Ward, I can't get it out of my head now that my friend Alex was on the show and he talked about, the whole dialogue about Ward is he's so calm and so cool and so
Yeah.
collected. But my friend Alex was like, no, he's just slow. Like he's just slow at reading the defense. And I'm like, damn, I can't unsee that now.
I need to dive a little bit deeper, but I
Yeah.
think it's more of he's calm and cool
Yeah.
in the pocket.
I would
So
like to think so. He seems like a calm and
I
cool
hope
guy.
so.
So yeah, I hope so as well. So he's going at 3. At 4 is his rival, a quarterback right after
It's
him here, Shedeur
Shedeur.
Sanders.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty easily.
Mhm.
I think this is about where people will go in their dynasty drafts, unless you're desperate for a quarterback at 101.
Yeah.
And you really, really like the landing spot. I think that would be the only case for Jeanty not going 1. Is you desperately need a quarterback. These guys land in the ideal spot for you, and you kind of reach on that. But I think 3 and 4 is where Sanders and Ward should go and will go.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that seems about right for me. They're not that any kind of special talent where you would take them over the truly special running back and the special wide receiver. So I think this is about right. Sanders' guy kind of came on as the season developed. At the start of the year, I was kind of watching, going, I don't get it. I don't see it. But then as time ticked on, I was like, actually, this guy's pretty good. He's very
Yeah.
accurate and
Yeah, and his offensive line has been piss poor the
so
entire
he'll
time
be
he's
used
been
to
in
the Giants.
Colorado. Yeah, he really should. Uh, they've been not great, and I think that will help him in the long run in the NFL is knowing how to operate under that much pressure all the time.
Yeah, and like you talk about some of the intangible stuff as well, like going to the NFL, the bright lights not going to affect this guy one bit, right?
No,
Yeah,
no, I don't think so.
he seemed to be like born and bred for this. He was always going to be an NFL player, and he's going at 1-4 for you. Who's following up at 1-5? Because
Oh, this is really where it gets
this is where it's,
interesting, right?
yeah, this could be anybody. I've done about 10 of these drafts now, people. I don't know who this could be. This could be anybody.
Okay, so for me, I think just off of his profile and I think his freshman year production, because this year wasn't great,
Hmm.
but I don't blame that on him because being an Auburn fan and being in the SEC, like I know what this guy's gone through from a quarterback play standpoint. I'm going Luther Burden here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Luther Burden, I don't want to say he's getting slept on because he's not. Like people have him as wide receiver 2 in this class for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's got a lot of potential, especially with his yak ability to be very valuable in fantasy. And I was listening to another podcast and I think somebody mocked him to Denver and I loved that.
Oh yeah.
They mocked him to Denver. And there's one other place that a different one had talked about him landing and I liked it a lot. But if he goes somewhere where he doesn't have to be the wide receiver 1 out of the gate
Mm.
and can be that slot merchant, if you will, but also someone that because he's got the talent to move him in
Mm-hmm.
motion and use him in creative ways within the offense. If he goes to somewhere that has that kind of play caller that's willing to do that for him, sky's the limit, I think, from a fantasy production standpoint.
I'd never thought about Denver, but you're right. That is like, I mean, you just think about Michael Thomas, right? And you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, hello. Like this is, yeah, if he could be the new slant boy and just
Yeah.
rack up all of those points, right? PPR leagues. And then you're right, that yak ability is his calling card as well. So the more he gets the ball, the more chance there is for that home run with Burden. So that would be an absolutely ideal landing spot. And yeah, you're right. He is kind of being. I think it was because at the start of the season, Shane, it was a genuine debate between Tet MacMillan and Luther Burden, and that does not seem to be the case anymore, right?
No, I completely agree with you there. But I hate hate saying this, but like if you look at the level of competition with Arizona,
Yeah.
I think being in the Big 12 now, and
Mm.
Missouri being in the SEC, plus the one comparable thing they have is quarterback play. Like
Yeah.
quarterback play for both of them was miserable this year. Um, I think just with the way that Burden can and should be used, that maybe limited him a bit more than Tet. And with
Yeah.
Tet being 6'5" and being able to kind of jump with anybody, like it's easier for him to be targeted in those situations. So he probably looked better this year compared to Burden. So
Yeah. My poor guy Brady Cook. I was excited about Brady Cook this year. I'm not gonna lie, and
I
that's
was
just
too.
that was a flat tire. Just I don't know what happened there. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen
Yeah.
with Brady going forward? But we got his teammate locked in at 1-5. Who's next? Shane at 1-6.
Oh yeah. I don't know what to do here. I have so part so part of this is selfishly I don't want to bring up a certain name because I want him to fall in my drafts because I want to get him. Um,
Yeah.
and then the other one is the enigma of the draft,
Yeah.
Travis
Yeah.
Hunter.
This.
I think that's where I'm
Yeah.
going to go is Travis Hunter. Um, now I don't know if you do IDP or if you cover IDP, um, but personally, I think if you do an IDP draft, I'd make the case for Travis Hunter as the 101. Because
Yes.
especially if he's going to play both sides of the ball, even if it's a limited on one side, you're automatically getting points from both sides of the ball. So for me, that makes Travis Hunter an
Hmm.
easier case for 101 in IDP leagues. If you don't play in IDP leagues, you're almost lighting this pick on fire if he ends up playing
Yeah.
defensive back and not playing wide receiver. The thing is like I was doing a couple mock drafts this morning, um, while holding the baby and trying to keep her asleep, and I mocked Travis Hunter to the Jaguars in 2 out
Mm.
of 3 of them, I think.
Yeah.
And, like, if he goes to the Jaguars, he could be used pretty easily on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Like, they need
Easily.
help at both positions, but he doesn't have to be the guy at wide receiver because they've got Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah.
However, if he my point was because somebody mentioned that they didn't necessarily want Hunter for the Jacks, and I asked why because I was generally curious. But I think he's such a freak athlete
Yeah.
that whichever side of the ball he plays on, prior primarily, that's the word I was looking for, he's gonna be dominant because he's that athletic and he's got good football IQ. So if it's primarily his wide receiver, you're getting a really good player. If it's primarily his corner, you're still getting a really good player. But as far as fantasy goes, you hope it's the wide receiver or is he at least playing enough snaps at wide receiver that you're not lighting this pick on fire.
You're right. He is just the, what did you describe him as? Was it the enigma of the draft?
Enigma,
Was
yeah.
it? I absolutely love that. I think that is exactly what he is because you don't know where he's going to go. I think the Jags is a really, really good shot for him to go. He could even
Mm-hmm.
go like, man, New England could pair him up with who's their young
Mm-hmm.
quarterback they got out of Oregon?
Christian
What is his name
Christian
again?
Gonzalez.
Christian Gonzalez and Travis Hunter as a lockdown cornerback duo is real,
Yeah.
real nice. Like,
Yeah.
so that's another possibility. And they have no wide receiver. Like, he could be wide receiver one and quarterback one in New England day
Right.
one as well. So that would be an interesting landing spot for him as well.
Yep.
It's all going to come down to, I mean, what the question I've asked a few guests is, let's say on draft day, say he goes to the Jags,
Mm-hmm.
but the card read out
His
is,
cornerback.
yeah, what happens then?
If
'Cause
that's the case,
I'm still taking him in the second round anyway. I don't care.
oh yeah, I'd still consider him late first, honestly.
Yeah.
Um, like if you need wide receiver, I still think if he's announced as a corner, he's still wide receiver 3 or 4, just on his athletic ability.
Mhm.
I think there's like 4 guys like right in this range that like, and we may just talk about them all right now and figure out the order as we go. But Hunter is one. I like Emeka Egbuka.
Yep.
He's who I selfishly want Egbuka to fall in drafts because I think
He has been.
Because he will also likely fall in the draft, I think, like in the NFL draft, and will end up on a really good team, and that's going to benefit him significantly, I think. But he's probably the most polished wide receiver, in my opinion, Egbuka is. And I think that's going to be a huge benefit for him from a fantasy perspective. So Egbuka is one that I selfishly want to fall, but I could take him at 106. Hunter, just based on his athleticism, someone I could take at 106 if I have a clear indication of how he's going to play in the NFL. And then the two guys, so I'd probably just pair those two together as 106 and 17, yeah. And then 18, 19, and 110, there's probably three guys, and two of them are actually Egbuka's teammates. Travion Henderson, Quinshawn Judkins, and then Tyler Warren. So I need to watch more film, just period. End of story with this class. But Travion Henderson had an incredible freshman year, was basically hurt for 2 years, I think, and then has come back this year. I think it was this year. He might have had one other year in between those, but has come back this year, split time, and still put up gaudy numbers.
Yeah.
He's got the capability of being a 3-down back in the NFL easily, and he is extremely explosive. Like, that explosiveness is back after those injuries, and we've seen that throughout the college football playoff.
Versus Texas, especially there,
right?
Right?
Texas and who did they play? Oh, Oregon.
Oregon.
He went off on Oregon. So I really like Travion Henderson, but I don't think people should sleep on Quinshawn Judkins. I don't know why, but in my head, for Quinshawn Judkins, the comp that I have, and I don't know if he's as pure of a runner as this player, and he may be a little bit better receiver, but the comp that I have in my head is Nick Chubb. I don't know why. That's what, and I need to go back and confirm that in the film. But Quinshawn just comes across as that guy that you can plug in as your starting running back and hammer the ball and hand it to him 20 times a game. And most times he's probably going to come out with 100 yards and a touchdown, at least. But
he's that old school.
Yeah, but I still think he can catch the ball too. And that's going to be valuable for him.
Yeah, we've seen that a bit more when he was at Ole Miss, right? And they kind of moved over, and Henderson's more the receiving back over to Ohio State, so we don't really see it. It's been quite interesting to see, every draft I've done in 2024 and these way too early mock drafts, every single person had Judkins ahead of Henderson, but now the dialogue is very much shifting as we've seen Henderson in the playoffs.
I think they're
so close,
especially from a talent like. They're different style of running back, I think. But I think from a talent perspective, they are, right now at least, they're really close. I think Henderson's ceiling is probably still higher. But that doesn't mean Judkins has a low ceiling. Like, I still think he's got a good ceiling. So, and then I think we'd be at 110.
110.
Is Tyler,
you mentioned
Tyler Warren.
I love this.
Now, there's a guy on Twitter who I respect the heck out of. He's also a Penn State fan, and he tweeted, I think after their quarterfinal game, is Tyler Warren going to automatically be the dynasty tight end one once he comes into the league? And my answer is absolutely not. It's Brock Bowers.
Yeah, that is a high.
Tyler Warren could depending on where he goes, and I think I've seen him mocked to the Colts a lot, and I think that's a solid spot.
They need a tie in for a while.
They have.
Yeah.
And he's not. Jokingly, I saw someone also say that Sean Payton's going to sell his soul to get Tyler Warren on the Broncos, which that's also a great landing spot for him because he's a football player. Like, yeah, he's listed as tight end, but Penn State has shown that you can use him in multiple different ways, and he's going to be effective. So I really
Jet
like Tyler.
sweeps. He's a tight
Yeah,
end who takes jet sweeps. Like,
yeah,
it's awesome.
he plays Wildcat quarterback. Like, what?
Yeah.
um, I really like what I've seen from Warren, especially over the last few weeks, and
Yeah.
I'd be comfortable taking him in the first round, especially if you need a tight end, or if you've got that luxury pick, like you you made the playoffs, made it to the third, and just had a bad week in the semifinals, so you wouldn't make it to the third place game, but you've got a solid team in place for years to go. I I'd be fine spending and you don't have any glaring holes. Tyler Warren's the kind of player that I'd be comfortable spending that on.
He also just if you went into any kind of AI app and just said show me
Create a tight
draw
end.
a tight
Yeah.
end. That's the picture that comes up. There's a big picture of Tyler Warren with
100%.
the
Yeah.
hair, and he's got it all. So yeah, I love Tyler Warren being there at 110. We got 2 picks to round out the first round, Shane.
Yeah.
111. Where are we going? You tempted to dip into this? I've seen lately, for whatever reason, and I've always liked this guy, but for some reason on Twitter or X or what do you call it, Elon Musk Funhouse, whatever you want to call it.
Funhouse. So I
Dude,
stole
it's
that
just
from your fellow Brit Murph.
Oh, love Murph.
Yeah.
Big fan of Murph. Definitely friend of the show.
He calls it Elon Musk
Yeah.
Funhouse, and I've taken that and ran with it since.
But yeah, over in Elon Musk Funhouse, it's Jackson Dart season. I don't know where that's come from.
God, yes.
But is he sneaking into your first round? Because it's happening a lot more when I look.
You know what? I'm gonna do it just because I feel like I want to be the conductor of the Jackson Dart hype train. I don't know if I've done a good enough job, but and I asked John Vogel this. I was like, why are people sleeping? It seems like or not loving Dart.
Yeah.
And I heard I was watching their bowl game, and they said that he probably has like a 3rd to 5th round grade in the NFL draft, and I'm like, why? Because and John Vogel explained it to me. It's because Lane Kiffin is that good of an offensive coach. Like, he's truly a super genius mastermind offensively, that he makes that offensive scheme so easy to run. And that's what people are worried about with Dart, because we've seen it with Matt Corral and we've seen it with Jordan Ta'amu in lesser leagues than the NFL, not be able to run offenses because of how simple Kiffin makes Ole Miss's offense. And makes total sense to me, especially with what we've seen in the past. And no, he wasn't there yet. I was thinking Chad Kelly, but I think Kelly was there when Hugh Freeze was there, if I remember correctly. But I still think this kid has the arm talent to succeed in the NFL, and he's mobile enough that I'm like, again, landing spot's going to be huge. Draft capital will be huge for him. But if it goes well, I'm cool with Jackson Dart at 111. Like, if it's the right situation, absolutely.
Do you know who he really reminds me of? And I can't unsee it now. I've been watching a little bit more. I just see so much Jalen Hurts in Jackson Dart. Like, it's just so similar. The way he even moves, I think, is similar to Jalen Hurts. And he's such a good athlete, got that big arm. He could even go in the second round as well. Like Hurts, he might have to sit for a year. I can just see them having similar.
There's another quarterback who I think is also being comped to Jalen Hurts. Went to the same school as Jalen Hurts. That I would be comfortable spending a second round pick on him in Dynasty. Depending on draft capital, but it's Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe is big enough and athletic enough, especially from a speed standpoint, to play running back in the NFL.
I can't believe he declared. I'm still a little confused about that. He must have been told he's getting first round draft capital. Like that's
I don't first or second because and again, this was actually the same. So shout out to the Quarters podcast with Christian Williams, Kevin Coleman, and I think Christian's friend
Yes.
Randy is on there with them. Um,
Shout out.
they do an NFL draft only podcast, and they were talking about Jalen Milroe. The biggest thing, it was them or it was Dynasty Nerds, but they were
Mhm.
talking about Milroe is going to have the same kind of renaissance as a passer that Hurts had. And I think the reason
Yeah.
Hurts had that renaissance is because he transferred to Oklahoma first.
Mm.
So it will be very telling of where Milroe goes, of where I think he should be drafted in dynasty drafts. But if he goes to somewhere, oh, I just thought of a place I would love for him to go. Oh, yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Hold on, I gotta look. Hold on, I gotta look something up real fast. Give me just a second.
Okay. I'm excited for Miller. He's kind of one of those guys where this is like in the same way that this time last year we spoke about Jaden Daniels, and if this isn't Superflex and it's one QB, he should be your one. He should be the one because it's just the upside is so astronomical with this guy. If he gets the capital, that it could be lights out. And in one QB, you take that risk ahead of a guy like even like Shedeur and Cam Ward if he gets the draft capital. And of course, Jaden Daniels really worked out as well of all the things that we were saying last year about can he make it in the NFL? Can this run first? Like, what about his arm? Milroe, nowhere near the same passer as Jaden Daniels, obviously, but
No.
his legs are just as good.
Okay, so I was trying to see where their second round pick was, but the spot that I would love to see Jalen Milroe that just popped into my head is the LA Rams. Go back up Stafford and learn under McVay for a year or two.
Oh my goodness.
And with that running capability, whoo, yeah.
And McVay just makes, no matter what quarterback slots in there, they seem to do just fine as well. Like just with, there's a receiver always open there. So hopefully Milroe will be able to find. That is a great landing spot for Milroe. We'll see where he goes. If you had Dart at 11, I don't know if you would have Milroe at 12. Or
I wouldn't have Milroe at 12. Again, there's probably like a 3-person grouping here, maybe 2. I think 2. And they're both running backs. I'm gonna stick with the guy that I know more of just from playing Devy, and that's O'Marion Hampton here at 12, running back out of North Carolina.
So I'm gonna pause you,
okay,
because fans of the Dynasty Hot Seat, and especially the ones that are all up in the comments, there's raptures of applause for you right now, Shane, because for whatever reason, and it's just luck of the draw, every single guest I've had on the show have snubbed O'Marion Hampton from the first round.
No,
and comments galore about where's Hampton, where is he?
Yeah,
here he is. Here he is.
Right
Shane has delivered for you.
Yeah, no, he's here. He's right. So again, we'll call it the problem with this class is they're so strong at running back.
Yeah.
To where after Jeanty, running back 2 through like 10 could go in any order in the NFL draft and in your dynasty drafts. I really think it comes down to personal preference at this point. For me, I like Henderson and Judkins above Hampton, but I still think Hampton's a first-round talent from a fantasy draft standpoint. He's a first-round talent.
Yeah.
And the guy, so at 201, the guy that I was debating with him is Caleb Johnson. And part of that is I don't know enough about Caleb Johnson. I think he has from what I've heard, he's going to be solid. I just don't know enough about him personally and need to watch him more myself before I ranked him anywhere. But there's so many running backs that can go in this first round potentially, but just based on landing spot. Like, here's the problem. Let's say O'Marion Hampton falls to the 4th round of the NFL draft, and there's 3 or 4 guys that go in round 2 or 3 ahead of him. And even between, because like, I'd be really shocked if Jeanty makes it out of round 1. I'd also be really shocked if Judkins and Henderson make it out of rounds 2 or 3. And so let's say 4 guys go in between Judkins and Hampton in the NFL draft.
Yeah.
What that hurts Hampton from a draft capital standpoint. But then landing spot comes into and what the rest of the roster comes into play as well. Same with Johnson and all these other guys. Like, there's so many freaking running backs in this class that, like, we're gonna do an exercise here if you don't mind, and I'm gonna go through the teams that I think could take a running back. Wouldn't shock me if Tennessee takes one. Cleveland needs to take one. The Giants need one. New England might need one. As a Jags fan, I personally don't think we need one, but we need one of them to develop as a pass blocker. The Raiders need one. Jets don't need one. Carolina, I'm going to say no right now.
Yeah.
New Orleans needs to find the heir apparent to Kamara. Chicago's a maybe because is Swift staying there? If he does, do they want somebody to compliment him? San Francisco, I'm going to say no. Dallas is an absolute yes. Miami's probably a no. Indianapolis, maybe for a backup to Taylor. Atlanta, no. Arizona, probably not. Here's the sneaky one for me. I think Cincinnati can take a running back. And I know Chase Brown shareholders out there are going to cry, but I think he was drafted, if I remember right, in the 5th round of the NFL draft, maybe later.
Chase Brown has done well, but in the nicest way possible, Chase Brown's nothing special, right?
I think he could be a great 1B to a 1A.
Yeah.
Because he's so explosive, but I don't see him holding the starting job and continuing to produce like he is. Seattle's a no. Houston needs to take a running back. Denver needs to take a running back. Tampa Bay doesn't. Pittsburgh, it depends on if they keep Najee and Jalen Warren, because I think both are free agents. I'm going to say no for right now because I figure both will stay. LA doesn't. Green Bay doesn't. The Chargers, I think, could use a running back, even though they've got Dobbins.
They've got a lot of free agents, right? Well, are they free agents as well?
I don't know.
I think Dobbins definitely is. He was on a 1-year deal. Yeah. I'm not sure about Edwards.
Washington needs to. Baltimore needs to later to find the heir apparent to Henry. Minnesota could easily take one.
Yeah.
I'm going to rule out Buffalo. I'm going to rule out Philadelphia. Kansas City. Like, they've got Pacheco, but he's been hurt a lot this year. And
Kareem Hunt's there, but he's on a 1-year deal as well.
There, but I think he's on a 1-year deal. They picked. I think they picked him up in the middle of the year, if I remember correctly. So they needed somebody to complement Pacheco, and then Detroit I'm ruling out. So I basically ruled out officially like 4 or 5 teams.
Yeah, not that
and
many.
Everybody else was a maybe. Like, but this is the class to do it with.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so many to go around. I think it's going to be real fun. That 3rd and 4th round, I think we're going to hear a lot of running backs be called out in rounds 3 and 4. And Shane, before we cruise into round 2 and hear a couple more of your round 2 players and your sleeper players, I just want to let you know something a little bit sad, Shane. And I'm going to put up this little banner as well. Do you know 85% of people watching right now, they ain't subscribed. 85%. What do you think about that?
That's ridiculous. You guys need to hit the subscribe button.
Absolutely, yeah. And I see you sneaking through the little tags I've lovingly put in for you. You're just like, I'm going to sneak through here and just see what Shane says, and I'm going to get the hell out of here. Come on, I caught you. Hit that subscribe button as a sign of respect before we get into the second round and the sleepers. So we've covered Milrow already as a second round kind of guy. Potentially Caleb Johnson. Let's hear it, Shane. Who else you got in your second round? And then maybe after that, we might talk about some of those sleeper players, maybe some Auburn guys for a little bit of fun.
Yeah, right? I think the Auburn guys will definitely categorize as sleepers. I got 2 or 3 in mind from Auburn specifically, but as far as second round guys go, I think Elick Ayomanor from Stanford, Isaiah Bond, Trey Harris.
Harris is an interesting. If he said healthy, I think he would have been the first round guy.
Yep. I I heard somebody else say this, that they were worried about getting Jonathan Mingo vibes from Trey
Oh
Harris
God.
because very similar like story, I guess, if you will, like being a
Mm-hmm.
wide receiver out Ole Miss could go in the second round of the NFL draft, like, and
Yeah.
I feel that. So,
Yep.
Tez Johnson is one that I
Yeah.
really, really like in the second round. And then you got I think he's on there. You got both Penn State running backs if they both
Mm-hmm.
declare, Singleton and Katron
Mm-hmm.
Allen. I think Allen
Mm-hmm.
didn't declare. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
There's Dylan Sampson, Colston Loveland. Is easily
Yeah.
tight end 2 in this class for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then Harold Fannin Jr. out of Bowling Green is probably tight end 3. Like, there's a
Yeah.
ton of guys that, like, because of how deep the running back class is, I think it's going to push it could potentially push other talent
Mm-hmm.
down a little bit. And I think testing is going to be really important for this class, testing and landing spot. So,
Yeah.
um,
This isn't going to be one of those years where they're like, I'm going to sit this combine out. I think
yeah,
these guys are going to be chomping at the bit for the combine.
yeah. So
I'm
I
glad you. I'm
think,
glad you brought up. I'm glad you brought up Dylan Sampson. Actually, he's had a hell of a year, and I think maybe in other years he would have been, right up there as running back, 3 perhaps. But it
yeah,
just shows you the quality of this class that
yeah,
he's not really in that conversation this year.
yeah. And I think his size, because I'm pretty sure he's like my size,
Mhm.
at 5'8", but he's a little lighter. I think that's probably a concern for people too. But then we've seen
Yeah,
Devon Achane, like,
yeah.
I won't say break that stigma because he has missed some games with injury, uh,
Hmm.
but he's shown that it's possible to be the size of Achane and still have success, at least from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely. And so those are some second round guys. The sleepers, I gotta be honest, they're my favorite people to
yeah,
talk about. I love chatting about these guys. Give me all the RJ Harveys you got. Give me all these other players. I'm just like they've got a chance with your Auburn guys. I've got a list. I've got 2 guys from Auburn
okay,
who I do like,
okay.
and
I can
and
probably
one
guess them.
one is Jarquez Hunter,
Yes,
obviously,
I
which I think
think
you
people
would have
are.
guessed.
Yeah, I think people are sleeping on Jarquez a lot because of how deep this running back class is, and I think
Yeah.
he is getting a similar knock to Tank Bigsby
Mm,
with the lack of receiving in his profile, but Auburn just doesn't throw to the running backs, especially because they've had Peyton Thorne for the past 2 years, and Thorne is
mhm.
a mobile quarterback. He's going to take off and run before checking it down. Um, and they don't necessarily design those plays out of the backfield for the running back in the receiving game.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I think he's a perfectly capable receiver and can be a 3-down back.
Yeah, I think he's a really, really solid guy for sure. And the second guy, I can't quite put my finger on why. Man, I like me some Cam Coleman as well.
Oh, so Coleman's not eligible for this class.
Okay. Well, that's good.
He,
That's good
he
for future because I've seen some things
so
from him like that. That's nice.
2027, you need to start collecting your first round picks because Jeremiah
Dude,
Smith,
that
Cam
class.
Coleman, Ryan Williams,
Ryan
TJ
Williams,
Moore, like
potentially
all
Arch
those
Manning, right?
guys. Yeah, if he stays, I think Manning can actually come out next
Yeah.
year. So
There's a
if
thing about the
Manning
Mannings,
stays,
they always stay 3 years, right? That's like a Manning rule, apparently. Someone
yeah.
told me. So he would be
So
27. So that's crazy class, right?
yeah. So start collecting your 27 first. But
Okay.
the other 2 Auburn guys that I had that are sleepers, are Keandre Lambert Smith. He actually transferred to Auburn this
Yep,
year
yep.
from Penn State, and I think finished as the 6th highest receiving yards in Auburn history,
Wow.
in a single season. Um,
Wow.
so he's someone that you can probably get at the back end of your drafts if he obviously he needs to get drafted in the NFL, but
Mm.
um, I think he's someone that can be a quarterback's best friend, and you're probably going to be able to get him really, really late. And then the other he's a really deep sleeper. At least for your tight end premium leagues, is Rivaldo Fairweather. He played tight end for Auburn, actually led Auburn in 2023 in receiving yards and touchdowns because they didn't have jack squat to throw to. And so it was Fairweather or nothing. So I like him as like a red zone threat, deeper kind of guy for tight end right now. I don't think he's going to be super fantasy relevant early in his career, but he's got potential to be later on. And then some non-Auburn guys. I really like Devin Neal out of Kansas.
Yep,
I have heard a lot. I think Jaquavius Marks is Woody Marks, the running back out of USC.
I got him confused. Like in my sort of scoring system I had Jaquavian Marks and then a separate score for a player called Woody Marks. Yeah, so I had two scores and I put them together. It's like, oh, he's really good actually, because I was like, both these guys are a bit meh. So I can't believe they have two running backs called Marks, and I was like, oh, no, hold on. Yeah.
And then there's one guy that I don't think is going to be a sleeper for very long. I think NFL teams and fantasy players are going to love him. Is Scatabo out of Arizona State.
Oh, yeah.
Like people, he's going to rise quickly, I think.
He's the oldest 22-year-old in the world. That guy looks like he's been playing football for decades and decades. Like he just seems like a veteran running back already. But I think he's like 22. Yeah, I like Scatterby a lot. So that's,
and then
again, I'll give you running back, right?
Look, I'll give you one more running back. Raheem Rocket Sanders started his career at Arkansas, transferred to South Carolina, had a resurgence this year. I like some Rocket Sanders.
2 years ago, he was the guy. He was no one was talking about Ashton Jeanty 2 years ago. They were talking about Rocket Sanders, and he towards the back end of the season, he was coming on a little bit, which was really, really good to see. There are so many. Shane, have you got any more for us before you get out of here? You got maybe one more guy you can give us a late round sleeper.
Late round sleeper. Look, I'll give you a quarterback.
All right.
I'll admit there's a little bit of bias here as well. Notre Dame is actually my second favorite team. So I'm going to go Riley Leonard. I don't know about him as a passer in the NFL right this second. But he's going to give you rushing ability more than pretty much anybody but Milroe. I think. Like that's Leonard's primary weapon is the rush.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone else can truly say that except maybe Milroe. But Milroe still tries to find a way to be at least be used as a passer. But the thing with Leonard is Notre Dame doesn't have the weapons to necessarily support a strong passing game.
They don't have a single receiver over 500 yards this season.
Yeah.
That's mad that they are in the final.
And Mitchell Evans is their tight end, who I also really like. But he's kind of, I haven't heard his name called as much, and I'm wondering if it's because people are scheming him out of the game, and so then they're having to rely on other players. So I really I think Leonard's got some upside, especially with his rushing.
Do you know my favorite thing about Riley Leonard? I don't know. This will get a hell of a lot of coverage, I'm sure, now that they're in the position they are. Before every game, do you know his mum texts him saying he sucks before every game? Yeah. I love that. Do you think she'll switch it up for the playoff final and just be like,
no, really? No, don't change it up. Please don't change it up. As a Notre Dame fan, I obviously want them to win, but I also don't want Ohio State to win. So, please keep texting him that he sucks.
You want mum to double down. Be like, you really
how did you
really
get this
dig
far?
in? Yeah, it's like you're adopted, actually, Riley. Let's leave the biggest punch to the end for Riley Leonard. But yeah, love him as a sleeper there, and hopefully he can do well against Ohio State. And Shane, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been an absolute blast. Can you just remind everyone, where can they find all of your great work online?
Yeah, so everything will be on Twitter, or Elon Musk Funhouse, as we like to refer to it here,
Yeah, yeah.
at FF Shane B. Follow me there. Follow my charity tournament account, which is at Polly's Playoff. Um, the registration for year 6 should be opening around the Super Bowl. And again, be on the lookout for a rule change in Polly's Playoff this year.
Ooh. Well, absolutely love it. Make sure you sign up to go and play. I'm doing it, Shane. I'm playing this year. I've not played in it
Do it.
before. Sign me up. I'm in. I'm
All
in.
right,
Let's
sounds
go.
good.
Yeah, let's do it. So thank you once again, Shane, and thank you as well to everybody listening. Remember hitting that subscribe button if you made it all the way this far. And guys, great to be back in 2025. Remember, for anything Dynasty you need to know, keep it locked on the Certified Inferno. See you later.